Hello, good morning. I think everybody can hear and see me. Yes, okay, good. Great, welcome everybody. Welcome to this winner session. Glad that everybody's here. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Very happy that you could join this session focusing on the Joint Cooperation Program. Just a brief introduction. My name is Nishal Sarju. I work for Deltares, one of the partners in the Joint Cooperation Program, Indonesia, the Netherlands. Like I said, I work for Deltares. A couple of my colleagues are here. Deltares has, together with a lot of organizations in Indonesia and the Netherlands, led the JCP, and which was done through support of the Royal Embassy of the Netherlands in Jakarta. I will be moderating and facilitating the session wherever possible. If you have questions, please, I think, post them in the chat. That would be the best option to ask them to the speakers. I can then relay them back to the speakers. Just a brief introduction about the JCP, and then we will immediately dive into our presenters. We have 6 presentations today from the Netherlands and Indonesia. I'm so very keen and happy to hear what they have to say about reflecting back on JCP. So the Joint Cooperation Program was a long-term cooperation between Indonesian and the Dutch government. It has been executed for 9 years, so between 2011 and 2020, and covered 3 phases. There was JCP 1, JCP 2, JCP 3. It was specifically aimed at improving water management in Indonesia by, for example, strengthening the position of both the Indonesian and Dutch institutes in the field of water and climate for a sustainable development. It's very important to note that it's not only about strengthening the Indonesian government and the Indonesian institute, but also back the Dutch institute, because I'm pretty sure that we can learn a lot from each other, not only through our historic relationship, but also through the complex environments that we both have in our countries. There was a final workshop in December 2020. I also attended that workshop. It's very nice to see the results of JCP, and it was clear that it left a solid base for better IWM, so integrated water resource management in Indonesia, and potential future collaborations. So I'm pretty sure that the many organizations involved have built strong relationships and work together in various ways. In this seminar, the winner seminar, we will showcase the results and the achievements from our cooperation. So without further ado, let's dive into the presentations. I will briefly introduce the presenters, after which I will ask them to share their screen to the other facilitator and tell their story. So once again, if you have questions, please post them in the chat. I'll select a couple of questions. Otherwise, I'll also have some questions for the presenters. Please let me first introduce Dr. Else van Besselaar from the Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute, better known as the KNMI. She is a research scientist there. Dr. Else holds a doctorate degree from the Radboud University in Nijmegen in compact binary stars and a master. She's working on the European climate assessment and data set, and she's also involved in related systems for Southeast Asia, Latin America, and West Africa. That is all done through the umbrella of the International Climate Assessment and Dataset. In JCP, the KNMI, so the Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute, had a role to develop the systems in climate change, in the Climate Change Atlas and capacity building for BNP. So, Dr. Else, please do share your screen or have your screen shared, and I'm very keen to hear what you have to say.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, and hello everyone. So I will talk about what KNMI has been doing in the joint cooperation program with BMKG, the Indonesian Meteorological Service. Next slide, please. So what we have done in JCP is that we've been to Indonesia several times and gave workshops there to start up the Southeast Asian climate assessment and dataset. This is a kind of a copy from a system that is already in use in Europe for 25 years or so. And this Southeast Asian climate assessment and dataset, also known as SACA-ND, is the database for WMO Regional 5, and it's a backbone for the data node for this RCC function. This dataset is completely embedded at BMKG and is running there as well. And the link to this database and website is at the bottom of the screen. And the station data set contains mainly temperature and precipitation and a few other elements on the daily level. And from temperature and precipitation, also a gridded data set has been derived, which is called SAOPS. And this system is not only for Indonesia, it's a cooperation between BMKG, the National Met Services in the regions, and KNMI. Next slide, please. So during those workshops that we have been given, the Indonesian staff members from BMKG have written manuals in their own language and with their own words from what they have learned during those workshops. So they've learned how to update the station database, which is behind SAKA&D, how to produce the gridded data set, but also more technical parts of it, how to make a backup of the system, how to make changes to the website, and all those kinds of things. So they are really able to do these things themselves without our help. Of course, if they need help, they can, of course, contact us and we will help them. But in theory, they should be able now to do it themselves. And this gridded data set that we've been making as well has been used throughout the world already. On the top right, on the bottom right corner, you see several countries from where this data set has been downloaded. And so it's already starting to make an impact in the scientific community, and which has been only be able to do this due to the JCP project. Next slide, please. So for this gridded data set, version 2 is online currently. And we have been working on version 3.0E, and the E stands for an ensemble members. And it has a higher resolution than the original version, and it captures the extremes better. But due to the COVID-19 crisis, we were not able to go to Indonesia to share the code and to get this new version of the gridding code working yet. So this is still something we need to do. But on this slide, you can already see an example what this new version can be doing. So on the left side, you see the current version, which has a lower resolution than the new one. And this is a specific example for a representation of the rainfall on the 2nd of February 2007, which has been leading to the great flood around Jakarta. And you can see that flood is already visible in the current version, but it's even more visible on the new version. Also, it can be seen that it is a very localized event. Next slide, please. So this SAKA&D is part of the International Climate Assessment and Datasets, which was already mentioned during the introduction for me. And we are now also involved in a WMO European Union project called CLIMSA, which has just been started. And for this, we are starting to implement this ECA&D system in 7 additional regions around the world, mainly focusing on regions in Africa, but also one for the Caribbean and the Pacific. And this also works on capacity building and outreach and support and data rescue support. On the right, you see the map of the world, where you see the European version, ECA&D, and one from Southeast Asia, SAKA&D. And there is an internal one, which is not yet online, for West Africa, and we have one for Latin America. And the circles are the regions that we will now be focusing on in this new CLIMSA project. But for the Indonesian one, in one of my earlier slides, I explained to you that it's now starting to be a regional climate center for WMO. And now Jakarta is also shown on the map from the WMO as a climate data node for this region. And the regional climate center is shared between Malaysia and the Philippines, and they all do their own part in this regional climate center. So one is a climate data node, one is the node for monitoring, climate monitoring, and one for long-range forecasting. Next slide, please. From this database from stations and the gridded data sets that we've been set up in JCP, there were a few PhD students we have been working on this data. So one is working with the seasonal forecast work, one is from comparing the SAOPS gridded data set with the Codex Southeast Asia simulations, and another person was working on the greater Jakarta area with hourly rainfall precipitation, which has been digitized for a very long period. So this is, in a nutshell, what KNMI has been doing with BMKG for this JCP project. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Elsa. Are there any questions from the public? Otherwise, I have a question. No questions? I don't see anything in the chat appearing. Okay, no questions so far. Okay, Dr. Elsa, KNMI is a very distinguished organization. Huh? I'm not I'm not very familiar with the material, so I won't ask a very in-depth question. What have you learned from JCP? What is it that you're very proud of that you have achieved in Indonesia through JCP?
Yeah, we have been learning really how to do these workshops very well, because we have been training several persons, staff members, because some staff members went away, so we had to do it again for other staff members. And what we've learned, that it's very important that they also write their own manuals in their own language and in their own words. So we can make the manuals, but if they don't understand how we write it up because of language or whatever problems, then they will not be able to do it themselves. So it's really important that they do it during these workshops to write the manuals. And that's, I think, the most important part that we have learned.
So it's very important for foreign institutes to have that local context, to be able to work with local organizations who will be implementing whatever we write down in the field. So in that sense, the cooperation aspect of the JCP was very important to achieve the results that you wanted.
Yeah, and also that they do the steps themselves. So not only we show them how to do that, but really let them do the hands-on work and let them do it themselves, and we look and check what they're doing, so they can ask us if this is the correct way or not.
Yeah, okay. Once again, thank you. I don't see any questions anymore in the chat. No questions. So thank you, Dr. Elsa. So very nice to see you and very nice to hear the story. Let's move on to the next speaker, Professor Eko Winar Irianto, Director of Bina Teknik STA. Professor Eko was previously the head of the Research Center for Water Resources. Later, after the reorganization, he became the Director of Technical Development for Water Resources from the Ministry of Public Housing. He's an expert in the field of water environment, and he will be reflecting back on the role of Bina Teknik STA in the JCP. So, Professor Eko, please do share your screen with us. Very keen to hear your story.
Yes, thank you very much for your introduction. The Honorable Representative of Delta Res as the host of this event, Mr. Peter C. Latouré, Representative of KNMI, Mr. Gerard van der Schuur, PhD, Representative of BNKG, Dr. Insinyur Dodo Gunawan, Representative of 20 University, Dainan Alkema, Representative of Balai Teknik Sabo, Dr. Yunita Chandrasari, Miss Helen Boiscontier, MSc of Delta Res, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. Next slide. It is indeed a great pleasure and an honor for me to join all of you on the week of Indonesian Netherlands Education Research, or WINNER. My enormous appreciation to the committee for initiating and organizing this virtual conference in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, joint cooperation program that has been done since the first joint cooperation program in 2011 until the end of the third GCP in 2020 is one of the platform for adopting technology and systems to be applied in Indonesia, which is in line with the program of the Ministry of Public Works and Housing programs. In achieving its objective of the establishment of a knowledge sharing system of water resources through the application of technology and data analysis, the joint cooperation program was structured into various work packages. In the third phase of joint cooperation program, the Research Center for Water Resources, or PUSAIR, was involved in the working package such as WP1, Institutional Development Workshop Training and Building Knowledge Management Platform. WP2, Pusat Studi Hidroinformatik. WP3, National Hydrological Database. WP6, Developing the Integrated Water Resources Management Instruments. WP7, Operational Water Management for Urban. WP8, Sea Level Prediction for Indonesia. Next slide, please. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, many of the benefits we had as the Research and Development Center, namely knowledge regarding data management and information of water resources, such as Pusat Studi Informatika or Informatics Study Center. Second, analysis of various areas of water resources research, such as water quality modeling, flood risk map, land subsidence modeling, and development of integrated water resources management instruments, including it also the provision, training, and application of software such as SOBEC, DEV3D, Flood Early Warning System, and Drought Early Warning System, or FUSE and DUSE, and required satellite data. Third, development of laboratories of PUSAIR, such as laboratory accreditation, as well as human resource development and preparation for wave generator technology. The most important achievement to us and our great appreciation is the availability of a network in the research and development of water resources. Next, please. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we really hope the network that has been formed from the implementation of the Joint Cooperation Program will be maintained. For information, we have transformed since 2020 from the Research Center for Water Resources to the Directorate of Technical Development for Water Resources. This transformation has significantly changed our duty and function, so that we cannot directly collaborate on capacity building, training, and research activity. Currently, BPSDM, or Human Resource Development Agency, has the capacity for cooperation in this field. However, we will continue to support wholeheartedly if the cooperation program is re-implemented according to our capacity in the Directorate of Technical Development for Water Resources. Next slide, please. I would like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude towards all the members of Joint Cooperation Program for the great cooperation. Finally, I sincerely hope this event will generate new ideas, bring solutions, and stimulate action for a better future in water resources management. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Pak Eko, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also for you, I think the same question applies that I asked to Professor Elsa. What are you most proud of during JCP? It's a program that has been running for 9 years, almost 10 years, and I think Indonesia and the Netherlands always will have a strong,
Yeah.
very strong relationships on
Okay.
technical level, institutional level, cultural level. So what have you learned the most? What are you most proud of during those 9 years? And what would you like to see happen with? So I have two questions. Yeah? What are you most proud of, and what would you like to see happen in the future with the results of JCP and the relationships in Netherlands and Indonesia?
Yeah. Thank you. We suggest the improve our capacity building. It's better for the future. That's that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Pak Eko. Thank you so much. Do you have any
Yeah.
questions
Thank you.
for Pak Eko now? Um, so please, if you all please to the public, you have time to reflect. We will probably have some time left after the presentation. So if you have questions later on, please do also post them in the chat. We will make a compilation and look to ask the questions to the speakers if they are still there. Let me see who is next. Pakadarsa. Yes. Yeah, I have Pakadarsa. The next, yes. So Pakadarsa is the replacement of Dr. Engineer Dodo Gunawan from the head of climate change information as BMKJ. He is the coordinator in climate change analysis, holds a master degree in atmospheric science from ITB and a diploma engineer from the Tokyo Institute of Technology, Japan. He's interested in climate change adaptation and mitigation, and he will enlighten us with also the lessons learned and the technical content that they developed together with Dutch institutes and other Indonesian institutes in JCP from BMTG on. So, Pakadarsa, please do share your presentation, and we're very keen to hear your story. I'm just reading that Pakadarsa is not here, and we will moving to another speaker. So I have to introduce that. Another speaker, Professor Dinant from the Utrecht University in the Netherlands. Professor Dinant Alkema has a PhD degree in hazard and risk assessments, has been working in Italy for 3 years, now works at ITC since 2003 as an assistant professor, very much specialized in flood hazard and risk assessments, and has conducted various training and research activities in Southeast Asia. In the Joint Cooperation Program Indonesia, the Netherlands, he coordinated the involvement of ITC. And also from his side, we're very keen to hear the lessons learned and what the Netherlands and Indonesia have developed together. So, Pak Dinant, floor is yours.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good in the middle of the night for some of us, I understood. It's a pleasure to be with you on this wonderful occasion of that winner offers us to present the results of our YCP project. ITC, where I now work, is originated as a capacity development institute in the field of spatial sciences. And already for like 70 years that we now exist, we have been working in Indonesia and therefore have established a long-standing relationship with a number of parties, most notably BIG and LAPAN. With BIG, there is already our relationship goes back a long time. LAPAN is a bit more recent, but also already more than 20 years. And the common denominator in this collaboration is that we use geospatial information and Earth observation. This was, let's say, the situation before YCP started 10 years ago. Then ITC joined JCP in the second phase. In the first phase, we were not involved, but in phase 2 and 3, we participated actively. And again, it was still very focused on BIG in particular, because I think LAPAN only came in stage 3, through a number of training activities that we conducted at BIG on mapping, land cover mapping, and so on. But as we were developing these trainings, we also saw there was interest from staff from BPPT, PUSAIR, and BMKG. So slowly, we extended our network in Indonesia, which I think for ITC was a very important thing, because also a lot of our alumni work in these organizations. We saw it really as a chance to strengthen the collaboration with other institutes in Indonesia. And especially in the last stage, ITC, we also played a role in other work packages. Primarily, our work package was number 5, which was a one-on-one activity together with BIG. But in the last stage, we also contributed to work package 4 and work package 1. Work package 4 was we focused on stakeholder involvement, and the idea behind that is that stage 3 would be the last stage of the JCP collaboration. We were confident that BIG and LAPAN had already capacity to do the tasks that they had to do, but we also were discussing with them that the products that they produce, maps, geospatial databases, and so on, are not end products in themselves, but the base products for their clients, the people that need to use the spatial information. And so we sat together with them and a number of stakeholders to discuss, well, what can be supplied and also what is needed to see if there's a match, which I think was a very interesting exercise also for ITC, because also for us it's sometimes difficult to get in touch with the actual stakeholders, the people that use our information. So a learning experience from both sides. We also participated in work package 1, where we conducted academic skill training exercises on site in Indonesia, but also online, where we supported more scientifically oriented staff in writing scientific papers. So to give them advice how to do it, proofreading, explaining to them how the referee process takes place and how they can write better papers that have a higher chance of being accepted in good journals. In the final stage, we also linked the project to NWO research project, which is focused on landslide early warning system. And in that, we started to work more closely with Balai Sabo and BMKG. So I think that was a very nice spin-off from the JCP project, and that project is ongoing, and we did some training exercises there also with Deltaris. They contributed to it, so which we appreciated a lot. So also the collaboration in the Netherlands between KNMI and Deltaris and ITC has benefited from this this joint collaboration project. So life after JCP, ITC has been active in Indonesia already for I think 70 years, or as long as we exist. Actually, this week we celebrate our 70th anniversary, so please also join us online if you can. Our logical partners and strong partners remain BIG and LAPAN, but through JCP we have also extended our collaboration with BPPT, BMKG, and PUSAIR, which I think really enriches our presence and the work we do in Indonesia, not only in capacity building, but I think we are now also shifting more towards co-creation and joint research. That is done through the PILUS project that also involves two universities from Indonesia side, UGM and UMI. So that research component, I think, is the next stage in the collaboration. Obviously, we have to look together for funding sources, research funding, maybe project type of activities to do things together. To ensure that the collaboration will not fade away, but that we will remain active partners in the different forms of collaboration. And we are confident that we can do that because our alumni base and our long-standing history with the partners, I think will ensure that these ambitions will come true. That was it from my side. Thank you so much. Terima kasih, dank u wel. And I give the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, Ferdinand. Thank you so much. It was a very clear presentation, and also clear what you would like JCP to focus on in the future, at least perhaps not in the form of a JCP, but also in the form of something else. I just received a message that we are kind of running out of time, so I would like to propose that we go to the next presenter. And I have a question for Ferdinand, but I will ask it after the other presentations. If I am not mistaken, then the next one is Helen. Is that correct? Because our other presenter is also not here.
Yeah, that's correct, Michel.
Okay, good. Please allow me to introduce Helen. Helen is my colleague at Deltares. Young and talentful environmental engineer specialized in interdisciplinary hydrology. Working in Southeast Asia, especially Indonesia, for a couple of years now. She has co-led one of the work packages in JCP, focusing on the development of integrated water resources management instrumentarium. She has, among others, updated the national hydrological W-flow models for Indonesia, and has also played an integral role in local capacity building of Indonesian partners, focusing on the use of the models for different applications. In her presentation, she will reflect on the role of Deltares and the modeling in JCP, what it meant for Indonesia, and what the lessons learned are. So, Helen, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michel, for the introduction. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So all the speakers, but also all the participants and the attendants of this winter conference. So I'm Hélène Boisgontier, as Michel introduced, and I'm here to talk to you about the role of Deltares in the joint cooperation program with Indonesia. So a little bit about Deltares. So we are, let's say, knowledge institute with a main office in the Netherlands, but also an office in Indonesia, in Jakarta. And so our goal, or let's say our main topic, is to provide knowledge, but also software and tools to tackle Indonesia's water challenges. So we do this in many different fields, so coastal, but also surface water, and also the subsurface. So JCP was introduced in the beginning of the session, and the JCP program was, working together with the different partners and institutes on data and tools for water and climate change in Indonesia. And this was separated in different work package. So Deltares in JCP was there from the beginning of this long program, and we are the lead partners in here. So we worked on a lot of these different work packages and programs in JCP. And our main partner was, at the time Pusaya, which is now PUPR with PARECO, and a little bit also worked with BMKR. So water and climate change, this is actually quite a complex topic, climate change, for which knowledge and relevant observed or modeled data is necessary in order to understand all these complex intercorrelated interactions and what are the goals, so that you can facilitate discussions but also take informed decisions towards climate change. So for this, we, let's say, then organize the GCP in different parts, so these different work packages. And so the first part was towards collecting reliable hydrological data so that you can make your informed decision. So this was done in work package 3, which was the National Hydrological Database. So this was about collecting a lot of hydrological information. So this is, for example, river discharge, and then a database was made with this validated data by PUPR, PUSAIA, in order to share that data and make this database available. We also worked a bit on national mapping. So we worked on, let's say, a DEM production for Indonesia. So in collaboration also with BHE. And we're working on a joint paper together to also publish those results. Well, once you have data, you might see that for some regions, you do not have any informations. So what to do to still understand what is happening with water in your system in Indonesia? Well, then you can use water models in order to bridge the gap with this missing data, but also to look into the future. So near future with forecasting, also what happens with climate change. So this is why for Deltares, a big part was to share knowledge on our tools for water modeling. And so one of the big parts we worked on was the development of the IWRM system in Indonesia. So this is basically an instrument in which you have a hydrological model that can be prepared for anywhere in Indonesia. So hydrology is done with wave flow. This is rainfall, runoff modeling. But you can also then connect this model and the information you need to a RIBASIM model to do river basin planning, but also to do water quality. And all this connection is done, and you can also see the results in a Delfuse platform also for the forecasting. So what was done was then to prepare all those W flow models for Indonesia. So from precipitation field, you then get the river discharge in the different rivers. And these models were first built from global datasets. And then these models, you can connect them to RIBASIM. So for, let's say, water resources planning, so what are the water needed for agriculture, for industry, and for population. And then also what was very important is that we connected it to water quality with the de-emissions and DELWAC software. So this was quite interesting because here we go from the source of pollutants, so agricultural areas, but also cattle heads, population, to concentrations of pollutant in the river system. So this was, for example, used by PUPR for the Citarum Harum program, where, for example, E. coli or bacterial contamination was modeled, but also nutrients and some other substances. And it was also applied in the NCICD, so for Jakarta, for again several substances, including here BOD, biological oxygen demand. Well, once you have your data, once you have your model in place, what is actually important is to disseminate and share this data, this knowledge with the different stakeholders, the different ministries. So this is why in GCP we also worked in several dissemination platforms. So for example, using Delfuse. So we worked on urban flood forecasting for the city of Jakarta with the Jakarta Fuse system, but also for coastal with the CIFTP platform. And we did the same for drought forecasting. So this was also done via the DUSE platform. Finally, we also worked then on the work package 2, so PUSAD Study in Informatic, which is a web portal to retrieve these hydrological data sets. So let's say all this data and all this platform that were prepared from the GCP program can be, let's say, accessed via this web portal. So this was also quite an achievement and quite important. And well, all of these work packages, work program, this was just done via a lot of training. So well, live when we could, but also we had to learn how to do it online because of COVID in the past years. So this was also a nice lesson learned and a very nice, I think, cooperation and a very nice part of GCP that we could just share this knowledge very efficiently. And it was, well, I could still go to Indonesia to give one of the training. This was really, really nice cooperation. I think really nice program. Well, thanks everyone. I think that's the end of my presentation. Yeah. Is there any question?
Helen or for Helen? So I'll give the public a chance to think about some questions. We still have some time left. There was a question from Padinand I posted in the chat, which is relevant for all of the speakers. What research challenges, say, in the field of JCP water management, but also I think broadly out of the field of JCP, are most imminent in Indonesia? What should we focus on in future programs? I understood from the facilitator that Bu Chandra would show up and give us the presentation. Is that still the case, Angela or Riska? Angela, Riska, are you still there? No. Okay. Anyway, I see that all the speakers are on the screen. So perhaps we can have a small discussion. I noted two questions from the public, and please, public, if you have more questions, please do post them. First one for Dr. Elsa. A question from Nadifa Alia Himawan. Apologies if I mispronounce your name. She's a fresh graduate from the Airlangga University. It's a very ambitious question, but I do hope that you have at least a direction in which we can give her an answer to. Can you provide a solution so that Jakarta does not continue to experience flooding during the rainy season? I know that's a very difficult question, but perhaps we can hear your concerns and your thought process.
Thanks for your question. Well, I cannot give you a solution, but I can tell you that in order to find a solution, you will need a climatological knowledge about the situation in Jakarta and about the rainy season. The system that we've been working on to set up with Saka and Day, you can look into the climatological situation and see what has been changed over time, because it's a daily database with data going back in time. And from this data also derived indices have been calculated, and some of them are the start and the end of the rainy season. So you could look into those indices to see how it has been changing in the past, or if it has been changing, and how to work on that. So, so maybe that information can help you to find a solution for this problem.
Yeah,
that's the best how can answer that question, I guess.
I may add a little bit to this, Nishal, if you allow me.
Sure.
Of course, I fully agree that rainfall data, climatological data are extremely relevant to solve the flooding issues in Jakarta, especially for the rainfall-related flooding and the pluvial flooding, which is constantly occurring. Floods have always existed, of course, in Jakarta, but you see that in 2007 and also more recently in the 1st January of 2020, we have massive floods, and the rainfall patterns seem to be changing, and the floods were extremely intensive due to extremely high rainfall. But there are different kinds of floods, of course, in Jakarta. We have also coastal flooding, which is caused by a combination of sea level rise and land subsidence. And that kind of flooding has been worked on and studied under the National Capital Integrated Coastal Development Project. So that is looking at the coastal flooding and also the pluvial flooding in the lower areas of Jakarta. Plans have been made, but decision-making is still taking place on the strategies that have been proposed for for NCICD. But if you look at the entire area of Jakarta, you should also look at the upstream areas. Actually, the upstream areas have not yet been involved in the studies to the rainfall and the river-related flooding in Jakarta. So partly the studies have been finalized, but for example, to integrate the upstream areas and the downstream areas and to look at the fluvial flooding, that issue has not been solved yet. So there are different elements that are needed to solve the flooding issues in Jakarta, but not all of them have been addressed so far.
Yeah, no, thank you, Peter. It's clear that well, that there is still some work to do, and then that data and information is crucial for
Absolutely.
for decision making, at least sound and transparent decision making. I see that Bhuchandra is here, so Anshila, can you please remove everybody from the screen? We'll continue the Q&A after the presentation from Bhuchandra. So please let's give her an opportunity to also share her presentation and thoughts. In the meantime, if you have questions, once again, please post them in the chat. Please allow me to introduce Bu Yunita Chandrasari, head of Balai Sabo. She had the organization had a role in the development and implementation of technical services in the field of dams. Bu Chandra holds a doctorate degree from the Civil Engineering University of Diponegoro. Bu Chandra, please do share your presentation, and we're also very keen to hear your thoughts here.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning and also good afternoon from Indonesia. Thank you for having me and to have chance to sharing our application or software that can be used for early warning system landslide to prevent this natural disaster. As we know that the most frequent natural disaster in Indonesia are firstly is flood, secondly is landslide. It's almost about around 4 times in a month, and then drought. The combination between two natural disasters, flood and earthquake, can be used landslides. Why we need landslide early warning system? Because this application or software is fast and accurate. It's forecasting for 3 days ahead. And landslide warning system based on catchment area in each area in Indonesia, and the level of accuracy is more than 80%. As we saw in the slide, the debris flow in Indonesia is around 16 big cases with a lot of losses around 2020 till 2021. Next. The process of landslide early warning system. The framework was built and developed by datasets through Puslibang Air or Water Resources Research and Development at the time. And then starting since 2017, we developed a landslide system and method by using this data input, that rainfall forecast data for BMKG, and then rainfall historic data for NASA, and also combined with landslide hazard map from Geological Agency. Next. So let's take a closer look at this website. This is the appearance in our website, accessible to public. We can see in this, there are two colors in here. There are actually two colors, red and also yellow. This means red is very prone and yellow is prone. Classification of landslide, susceptibility in each area based on river basin in Indonesia, all over Indonesia. Now we present this information through various digital platforms, many social media. The left side one is from our website, and the right side one is for our IG. In the future, in 2021, we will adopt the digital platform on the official website in Directorate of Water Resources Operation and Maintenance, and also in Pusat Data and Teknologi Informasi and Ministry of Public Work and Housing Resettlement. Let me give you a brief overview about the current development, next development, and also our challenge. The current development is we need more detail, not in river basin area, but in the level district area or catchment area. We also need to increase our threshold because each area has a different threshold parameter. That's our goal in 2021. The next development in 2022 and beyond, we need the interactive display. By using WebGIS, we need to update the landslide hazard map and also rainfall trigger landslide threshold based on historical rainfall data. And the challenge is we have two big challenges in here. We need to rainfall trigger landslide threshold in specific area that I mentioned before. And the second one, we need to integrate with another modeling framework, such as TRIGRIS. I think that's all what I'm represented. We are looking forward for the continuation of this cooperation for the sustainability, this disaster mitigation information. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. We had a bit difficulties in hearing you and some delays in the presentation. And it was not in presentation mode, so perhaps it would be good if you can share your presentations, and that would include this question is for all of the presenters. If you can share your presentation with the organizers, which then can share it or put it somewhere on a shared screen. I think we have had all the presentations from all the speakers. I have one question from the public. It's very difficult to chair and see the question, so perhaps please excuse me if I've missed something. There was also a question from Nadifa Alia that was for Padinand, and that's a very interesting question also. For Padinand, among all of the countries in which ITC or the Netherlands is involved, why did you choose Indonesia as an important focus point for research? I mean, I understand that we have that strong cultural and historic relationship, but perhaps it's also good to hear from your point of view. Why did you choose Indonesia?
Well, the answer is simple, of course, because Indonesia is a beautiful and very nice country to work. No, of course, it has to do with the historical context and the long-standing relationships that we have, and I think that makes a continuation of ongoing activities and setting up new activities a lot easier. And again, Indonesia is a very big, very important country, and I think there are a lot of issues that that we can learn from both sides. I think originally it was a capacity development relationship, but what I see now is more and more we move towards a joint research collaboration, and I think there are a lot of challenges in Indonesia that are also very interesting for us. So it would be a pity if somehow we would stop, and I think that's a very broad opinion that we have here in the Netherlands in ITC. And I really hope that there is a similar sentiment in with our partners in Indonesia, both from the universities as from the government institutions. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm particularly agree with you that Indonesia is a very beautiful country to work in. You asked the question there, what long-term or what topics should future programs focus on? Either in JCP form or something else. I noted two answers in the chat box: water management in the rural areas and complexity of climate change challenges. I'm also very keen to hear what the other speakers thought. I would like to give the floor first to Peter. Although you were not a speaker, you were very much involved in JCP, the formulation of it and the operationalization of it. And very keen to hear what you think that future programs between Indonesia and the Netherlands should focus on. Peter?
Yes, thank you. I can elaborate a little bit more on this. I think that JCP had the objective to collaborate on science, water-related issues, and also to increase the knowledge at the Netherlands side and in Indonesia through joint research activities and capacity building activities. But if we look at the collaboration as it is now, with the ending of the Netherlands financing of this cooperation, there is a risk, of course, that the activities will not continue at the same intensity as they used to when the program was still going on. So I think we should look for new ways to continue the cooperation, either using different research funding programs, and also to look at the new partnering or new partners in Indonesia. We know that the research society is rapidly changing in Indonesia. There are new institutes coming up like BRIN. BRIN is one of the co-organizers of the winner event. And well, in that sense, we are very interested to see how new partners like BRIN could also be involved in the continuation of JCP-like activities. And as we know from the Netherlands, we are constantly in need of updating our models, updating our scenarios for sea level rise, climate change. So this cooperation is never ending. There is always a need to further work on the updating of our knowledge and models and data.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Any comments or additions from the rest of the speakers? Also very keen to hear from the Indonesian side, of course. I don't see echo here. Is that correct? Perhaps it would also be good, Angela and Reska, to put echo on the screen. But perhaps let's hear from Bu Chandra. Do you have any additions? What should Indonesia focus on, or what should topics be that we should focus on in future collaborations?
Yeah, thank you. Because of the organization transformation, so we need a new government corporation between Indonesia and Deltares to continuing the sustainability of the disaster mitigation information. Until right now, we just declared around 6 months since early of 2021. Looking forward for the continuance of this corporation, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chandra. I see Pa Echo joined. Can you also provide your feedback, Pa Echo?
Yes, thank you. This is, I think, the hydrological data and also the how to analyze this and maybe to publish. Yeah, I think it's still important to continue again. Okay. Yes, like
Yes.
such like modeling. Yeah, modeling also. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So what I understand, like we said beforehand, it's very important to have the right information or the right data translated into the right information to be able to use by decision makers. I would also like to give the floor to Padinand again. You asked the question, and we got some responses to the public. But what do you think that that Indonesia should focus on, or in the Netherlands should focus on?
Yes, of course. I mean, of course, I can mention a few issues. Our institute basically is interested in any kind of research or issues that involves a spatial component. And so disasters, flooding, landslides, climate impact, they all have a spatial component. Not every area is affected in the same manner, and the severity of those impacts are also not equally distributed. So I think there are a lot of topics I can imagine that we could work on, ranging from planning to technical issues related to Earth observation, usage, flooding. Well, we are already involved in the landslide forecasting with the Bilus project, so that already has an obvious general interest. So I can think of a lot of options. But that's why I put the question, because I mean, when you want to do research, and especially if you are looking for research funding, like from the Horizon Europe program or from NWO, you need to focus. You cannot say we will do general hazard analysis for all hazards for all Indonesia. So I was a bit interested, and that's why I formulated as an open question. What would be the most burning issues where you say, well, if we focus on that, then we can. Then I think it's up to us, and that is not only ITC, but I think there is also a role for Deltares and for KMI and for Wageningen and for all the other universities in the Netherlands to say, okay, we will respond to that. We will take up the glove and start looking for opportunities, because as Peter already mentioned, yeah, let's say the easy money is not there anymore. There will not be a general budget for doing nice things together like in JCP, which I think was very effective and very fruitful, and I think it has yielded a lot of very positive responses. But I think now we have to step up and make the effort to look for the other sources, like NWO, like Horizon Europe, and these kind of things. But that means that we have to focus, and we have to decide jointly how we will continue with this. I think that's
No, that's very clear. And apart from the fact that funding is not there, the questions have to come from Indonesia itself. And we from the Netherlands, and of course we do it together, but the question has to come from Indonesia or the country itself. And we have to be very careful to address questions and do it in such a way that it's impactful, and that it's not only nice to do, but it's impactful for whatever we are or whoever we are doing.
And I think we have to let's say increase the level of ambition to co-creation and co-research, like partners, and I think both sides are ready for that, and it could result in very interesting ideas.
Yeah. No. At Deltares, I think JCP Indonesia was a precedent for other large programs. Now we have, for example, a JCP in Bangladesh. There is a JCP in Egypt. So the scene was set with JCP Indonesia. So I think that's also very positive. I think the Dutch government is also realizing that these long-term programs are very effective, very efficient, and the impact is high. You really get to build a long-term relationship with institutes in other countries. So from my perspective, the program has been successful and has led to other spin-offs and other programs. I've seen that we have no time left. I have to recap. I'm probably not the best person to recap, but what I've seen is a different perspective from very different people, very different organizations, but the message is clear. The work that has been done was very relevant, very insightful, but there is still more work to be done. The main challenges that we have to find together, we have to find resources, finances, to continue programs such as JCP. I think that's the main message here. I would also indeed again ask the presenters to share your presentation with the organization so that it can be shared with the public. If I have no other things left to say, only then thank you to the presenters, thank you to the public. I hope this was I hope that it was insightful. At least for me, it was. I don't know if someone wants something left to say. So if you want, please, the floor is yours. To the speakers, if you have something left to say, please do it now.
May I tell that I'm very much impressed with the work that Balai Sabo is doing and the presentation from Bus Chandra. So I think that is really an interesting topic that well, we could work on together in the future. And I think such kind of land early warning system for landslides still needs a lot of further research to implement it in Indonesia. So we are very interested in exploiting ways to continue this cooperation and to help you in implementation of this system.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Very nice to hear that. Thank you, Chandra. I think we have to go now. Thank you for your cooperation. Have a good day, have a good night, have a good morning. Thank you for being here and thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.